American English University Center, teachers, students, know stress better and how to handle it. During my presentation, I'm going to cover the following information.
Ready.
Important aspect about the history of stress, causes and effect or symptom of stress on the body, help psychologists to control stress. I will give you some methods to reduce stress, and finally my conclusion. I hope you like it. I would like to start my conference by saying that we are all part of the winter society and we suffer. Each one to have some impact in the society in which we live. For that reason, we have the help of psychologists who help with the stress in our society. So the purpose in my conference today is to expand how to manage our stress in our society and use methods to stabilize our lives and in the midst of the daily operation. The first main point in my conference is going to be important aspect about the history of stress, history and current situation of stress. History, the provenance of its name. Stress is a word that derives from Latin, which was used very often during the 17th century to represent adversity or affliction. At the end of the 18th century, its use evolved to pressure, force, or effort put into practice in the first place by one's own person, body, and mind. The third discovery of stress. The third discovery of stress was the medical student's Hans Seidel of the Prague University in Prague. The first cases of stress. The first cases of stress, when Hans Seidel was in the second years of his career, he developed his theory about the influence of stress on the ability to adapt to the consequences of the injury or illnesses. For that reason, Hans Seidel observed 3 phases to detect the general adaptations formed what he called the set of symptoms. The first, alarm phase. Alterations, symptoms of psychology and physiological order that the organism presents before a possible atypical situations, generating anxiety or restlessness. For example, a person who hears a noise and is quickly scared. Endurance phase. Endurance phase is alteration phase to the stressful situation. A social phase. Social phase when environmental adaptation is used, enter to the social phase where physiological, psychological, or psychosocial disorders tend to be chronic or irreversible. For example, a person who had a lot of problems and get sick and get trauma such as chronic emotional disorders. Current situation of stress. Stress is disease that has become a desert in recent years, which is related to the development of new technologies of the desire of day-to-day. Stress isn't new, but stress increases a hormone in your body called cortisol and increases your fat to store in your body and problems getting pregnant in the women. And chronic stress is the 6th leading causes of death, cancer, lung ailments, liver cirrhosis, and suicide. The next point in my conference is going to be causes and effects or symptoms of stress on the body. Causes and effects or symptoms of stress on the body. Causes. Pressure. Pressure occurs when a person feels compelled to hasten changes in our behavior, or we are forced to reach a high standard life. For example, the pressure at work to work with excellence. Frustration. Frustration is when a person forced from reach a goal. For example, when something or someone gets in the way. Psychologists more discover 5 frustrations that are common in the American people, that are delays. Delays are annoying because the American people appreciate the culture of value. Lack of resources. Lack of resources is frustrating for who cannot buy a car, because the people use frequently the transportation systems. Losses. Losses like the long relationships or a very friendship. Failure. Failure generates frustration because in our competitive societies, in our competitive society teaches us failure and success depend on the characteristics of persons to achieve their goals. Discrimination. Discrimination generates frustration when you are denied opportunities or recognitions only for your age, skin color, and social status and religion. As a following point, I want to speak about stress in our body. The nervous system is the responsible for the organic function in your body voluntarily. It is divided into sympathetic nervous systems, which dispose us for actions, and parasympathetic nervous systems, which responsible the activities in our body. Physical symptom of stress. There are other symptoms. It's very important to pay attention some symptoms, physical symptoms in our body that show us the daily stressful are affecting us. For example, frequent headaches, diarrhea or constipation, excessive tiredness or pain, rigid jaw or tense muscles, insomnia or drowsiness, and unusual weight fluctuation. Consequence of chronic stress. Other risks can be lower defense, high blood pressure, diabetes, acne, pressure, and anxiety. As a following point in my conference, I'm going to speak about health psychologists to control stress. Positive psychologists help to reduce stress, and the role of psychologists in the face of stress. Positive psychologists help to reduce stress. Its fundamental objective to improve the quality of our lives and making us feel better with others. The role of psychologists in the face of stress. The psychologists carry out the evaluation. The psychologist will offer you an approach to the problem. In that moment of this therapy is when the professional in psychology offer your explains about your problems and will offer you information about how to manage your problems, and will offer a proposed treatment depend on in your particular case. I would like to conclude with my conference without giving you some methods to reduce stress. Reassure yourself and adopt a healthy lifestyle. Reassure yourselves. This helps it's very important maintain to bring mind and body. Adopt a healthy lifestyle. A balanced diet, it's maintain the energy in your body. And exercise routine is very important for your body too. Avoid high-risk behaviors. It's very important maintain a mental balance. Finally, to conclude with my conference, I would like to say that stress is reaction of the organisms as a defense, and it's the main factor of disease nowadays. It affects the nervous systems and the cardiac systems. For that reason, we must learn to manage our stress. So we must take some to each problem. For instance, in my case, when I feel stressed, I do recreational activities such as going to museums, and I do exercise because I am a student. I will graduate in psychology, but I also get stressed, but I tried to take control myself. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them.
Congratulations, very nice. I have a couple of questions, but one of them is how did you manage? Okay, my first question is, don't say English during the course.
What activities? Okay. In this case, I did retellings and finals conference in level 6 and level 5, sorry, and level 6 was very stressed for me.
Okay, how do you manage that?
Okay, pressure is very important for me, but I tried to do a special schedule for do my hard project. For example, my final conference, I did a special schedule and many dates for to prepare with anticipation.
Okay, really important because stress is a current topic, you know. This is one of the most important sickness right now because everybody feels stress every day because of the many activities we have. Okay, so can you mention what is the main reason or the most common reason, okay, why people feel stressed?
In Panama?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the big reasons, it's a lot of reasons, but the big and hard reasons is lack of resources, because the people stress, because lack resources and economic, for those buy a car or buy something for their children, for their family.
You mean the financial situation may not feel stressed or
Very much for that. I have two questions. So the first one is, are you gonna focus on this subject? You mentioned that you're studying to be a psychologist. So are you gonna focus on this once you graduate? Are you planning to make, I don't know, your thesis or something about this subject? Or this is the end? Are you gonna stop here?
Repeat, please.
So yeah, are you gonna focus on the stress as a subject for your thesis or to study it once you finish this course in your career?
Okay, my purpose in my conference, it was how the psychologists helped balance the daily routines, and how the psychologist explained how manage the hard situations in different moments, because in the work, at the work under pressure is very hard. Some people depressed at work for the stress. And the psychologist helped a lot of people with the stress.
Okay. No, good, thank you. Now, the second question that I have, I think that you're about to graduate from the psychologist career, right? So, in your point of view, how does the lack of sleep affect the stress of a person?
I think maybe the when for the failure because for example the students know that there are competitive in society, and the students need to pressure ourselves to do better the assignments. And for that reason, I think that the failure in competitive side is one of the reasons when the people feel bad, because it's a lot of stress in their lives. But the students, they can try to get this pressure for be better.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Espero que te haya gustado este video tan especial que quise compartir contigo acerca de mi Final Conference. Así que videos así diferentes quiero compartir con cada uno de mis amigos especiales, así como tú. Que Dios te bendiga y recuerda que puedes lograr muchísimas metas, no importa dónde vivas, cómo estés, pero con sabiduría y con la dirección de Cristo puedes trazarte grandes metas. Que Dios te bendiga.